Welcome, adventurer. I'm GM Coblin, and in this video, we'll learn effective strategies for handling cheaters at your TTRPG table. Whether it's players fudging the dice rolls or flat out breaking the rules, I'm going to give you some tips and insight from an experienced GM to maintain the fairness and the integrity in your gaming session. Welcome back, and today we're diving into a topic that is, unfortunately, all too common in the gaming world: dealing with cheaters. As someone who's been around the dice table and slaying dragons for years, I've seen my fair share of rule bending and breaking and sneakiness at the game table. But don't fear. There's a few tips that you can use as a GM to try and make things fair for yourself and for all your players. Now, what are some of the signs of cheating? Have you ever had that player that, for some reason, always forgets the rules, but they're always in his advantage? The player that forgets that he needed this material, or maybe that spell has a smaller area of effect, or only affects certain NPCs or inanimate objects. Cheating is not just in the roll of the dice, the player that hides his dice behind you. But when dealing with these players, sometimes you have to think that the reason they're trying to get this advantage may not just be trying to mess over their other players, but it could also be that maybe they feel that there is something unfair about the game that you can address with them. So, what do you do if you suspect someone of cheating at your table? Well, first thing, it's important to address it head on. Ignoring the problem can only lead to frustration and resentment of your entire group. I remember one time we had a player that always seemed to miraculously succeed on every roll, no matter how impossible the task, at least when it was an important roll. It's essential to approach the situation with tact and diplomacy, as accusations of cheating can quickly escalate into conflict from a cornered player. And remember, don't attribute to malice what you can contribute to negligence. I have some players that do just that and tend to misremember their character abilities. Maybe they have a healing ability that takes an action, and they thought it was a swift action. Or if you play in different editions, maybe they'll get them confused. Some players don't know their characters as well as they should, and sometimes they jump to conclusions the way that they work, or they misremember something that they've read. Now, to prevent cheating from happening in the first place, it's crucial to set expectations and rules for your gameplay. Maybe use house rules like I do, or there's something else that you do different with a class or race. I tend to look over my players' abilities as well. And as your players advance, they get more comfortable with their characters, yes, but they also gain more abilities and more options. They may not understand, and sometimes this leads them to cheating when they have no intentions to. It's just them misinterpreting a rule without asking you first. Being that I play most of my games online, I have access to tools that prevent a lot of the cheating that you will see on tables or that people talk about. Being that all my players have their rolls done by the computer, I can see everything. I can see what they roll every single time, even if no one else can. And I can also see all the modifiers that they have on that roll, or that they have in that ability that they use, that they've activated to create that roll. I see this often with one of my characters, and she forgets to add a penalty when using ranged attacks. And I can see it, I note it for her, and I mentally adjust it on the fly. This may be difficult for everyone, so In my personal games, everyone rolls out in the open, whether they use a dice tower or a dice tray, so everyone can see. And I also have another player that's good with math. And so he helps the other players add up their dice when you're looking at mid to high level gameplay so that there's no mistakes. And for some players, it could just be a daunting task to have all those numbers. So maybe it's not intentional. I also found that having at least one designated helper or a fellow rule keeper can help keep everyone honest and accountable when it comes to rules. If a situation arises and I'm unsure about a bonus or a penalty, I can have that player, or I can have my helper quickly look it up while we continue on with the rest of the encounter. Now, my tables have been playing with each other for a while, and we try to keep everyone on the same page and honest. I recommend trying to encourage your players like that, and it takes them from trying to cheat or outsmart the DM to working together to build a better table and a better adventuring time. Unfortunately, I know that some of us aren't always so lucky. But that does lead to another point. As a game master, it's your job to foster a positive and fair gaming environment. You encourage it, collaboration and good sportsmanship among your players in ways like I mentioned, with having players help you, and even sometimes look up rules for you. Make sure that you're playing the game right and the characters don't feel slighted against. Remember, gaming's supposed to be fun for everyone at the table. So this helps to not let cheating ruin an experience for the group. If you notice any tensions or conflicts arising from the party, either cheating accusations, address them in a diplomatic manner to maintain harmony at your table. By promoting a culture of respect, you can create a welcoming space where everyone can get to enjoy the game. Now, what about those problem players who just can't seem to resist the urge to cheat? No matter how many times you call them out or another player does, in my experience, it's important to address repeat offenders. Sometimes they just need a reminder of the importance of fair play for everyone at the table. And while we might want to slight them or implement penalties as a character setback, it's best to just solve the problem if you can. While it's never easy to confront someone about their cheating habits, it's essential to uphold the standard of fairness for the game and everyone else at your table. And maybe there is something else that you can talk to the player about that's leading them to this. Either something at the table, something the way the game's run. Now, you may be in the unfortunate circumstance where the player just will not play without cheating, whether they do it to be the best or they have a personal grudge against some other player. But regardless of your relation with them, if you want the game to continue, then you may need to leave that player behind. Don't continue with the problem player and run it for everyone else at the table. None of you will have a good time. And that about wraps it up. Remember, honest and fair play are the cornerstones to a great gaming experience. So don't let cheating spoil everyone's fun. By setting clear expectations, using tools as needed and you're able to prevent cheating, and fostering a positive gaming environment, you can ensure that everyone has a blast at your table. And remember, you're the GM. It's not cheating if you do it. Keep rolling those dice and may your adventures be shenanigan free. On a closing note, if you have any tips or stories about dealing with cheaters in your own game, or need some advice about a possible cheater in your game, share in the comments below, and maybe I can help you out or someone else. And until next time, happy gaming.